production spot in the whole company, in the whole country, the whole world. So all of the Roasterie coffee gets its start right here. It's roasted right here in this facility. We've been here since 2008, but we got our start in Danny's Brookside basement. So we've always been a Kansas City company. We're very proud of that fact. So 85% of our business is still done in the greater Kansas City metro area, and we don't have any plans to change that moving forward. Although we do have a lot of plans to expand this year, but within the city. So you might have noticed we've got the drive-thru open now under the plane. So that just opened today. It's our first day operating. We're excited about that. We've also got some remodeling going on here behind this temporary wall. So we just started canning our cold brew line. So the canning line has kind of been back in the very back, and no one can see it. So we want to put it behind some glass and a spot where everybody can see it a little bit better. So that remodel is going on right here. We're also putting in a bakery. Bacon Kansas City is going to have a location here. So that's also going to be behind some glass and be able to see everybody working, just like you can right now with our factory floor. So that's exciting. We're also opening up probably 5 or 6 cafes this year. We're putting one in the Children's Mercy downtown. We're going to put one over in Westwood, Kansas, 3rd Neck and Rainbow. We're going to put one in the Crossroads, 19th and Main at Corrigan Station. So it's a really exciting year for us. We're doing a lot this year. So make sure to keep checking in with us all year. We're opening a lot of these cafes in the next couple months as we move along. But we came here to talk about coffee. So we'll start at the very beginning. Coffee as a crop. You saw a lot of images in the video like this. This is where coffee gets its start. It's not actually a bean like we always refer to it. It actually gets its start as a cherry on a coffee tree. So here we got a picture of the coffee plant here. We got some cherries, leaves. We got some hands up here. So that's significant because all of our coffee is hand-picked. We are looking for a certain ripeness in that coffee. You can kind of see they're pointing out some green cherries that aren't ready to be picked yet. So most companies, most of those larger producers of coffee, most of those larger producers of coffee are going to be using machine harvesters to pick their cherries. And those are just going to be pulling all the cherries off of the branch at once. They don't really determine ripeness at all. So with our hand-pick method, nothing gets wasted. The green ones are left on the tree until they're ripe and ready to be picked, and they'll be harvested later. So that's sort of important to make sure that our quality is reached and we also aren't wasting any cherries. It's one of the few good sources of caffeine where a plant is naturally abundant in caffeine. So tea is another example of that. But aside from coffee and tea, not really a lot in the plant world with an abundance of caffeine. That caffeine's present in the cherries and the leaves, but also most importantly in the seed or the pit of this cherry, which is what we eventually will call the bean once it's harvested and processed. So this caffeine acts as a natural pest deterrent. Little critters are snacking on our coffee plant. That caffeine gets in and really overwhelms their system. It's kind of like those goats that we saw earlier in the video. It also acts as a natural laxative, so it kind of discourages future snacks on the coffee tree, as you might be able to imagine. But once we get that coffee harvested, the cherries are washed from the pit, and then we dry that out. This is what we're left with. Feel free to pass this around. This is green coffee. So this is what it looks like before it's roasted. Feel free to touch the beans, smell the beans. Just please don't taste the beans. So everybody else has been touching and smelling them. They're also quite hard before they're roasted. So I've seen it happen before where people try to bite down on them. It's never a pleasant experience. But you might notice there's not really a lot going on. You might be saying, Spencer, why are you telling us to smell these beans? They don't really smell like anything. Well, the reason for that is the flavors are all locked inside the green bean until the roasting process brings them out. So as a green bean, that flavor is locked deep within, and they really store well and they ship well. They hold up to the elements really well as a green bean. That's really good for us. And that's why we're a batch roast facility, which just means we're only roasting during the week what's been ordered each day. So we don't roast anything extra. We want to keep it a green bean for as long as we can until the customer is actually ready for that coffee. So that's also why we have different sizes of roasters. You can kind of see that going on behind me. We need to be able to roast different amounts of coffee depending on what type of coffee it is, so that we're not over roasting any one certain coffee. So over here, what we have running right now is one of the Java Masters, and this is going to be for smaller batches of coffee, sort of with that individual customer focus in mind, or for coffees that we don't roast as much of. All of our reserve coffees, for instance, are roasted over here. Our reserves are sort of a limited edition coffee, if you will, and we're only roasting 1 pound of those at a time. And those are going to be just sort of special coffees that we only buy maybe 1 burlap sack of. Once we roast them all, we typically don't get them in again. So it's sort of limited edition coffees. We're roasting 1 pound of the Ethiopian Natural right now, which is a coffee that we always have. It's not a reserve. But on the smaller roasts for the weekend tours, we do kind of the Java Master here for that same reason. So we can roast up to 4 pounds at a time in these, but like we said, we got 1 pound going right here, just to give you an idea what that looks like. Over here we have the Smart Roasters, and those are going to be doing a little different work. They're going to be doing a lot heavier lifting. So we can get 60 pounds of coffee at a time through the middle roaster, up to 150 pounds at a time through each of the large roasters. So those are going to be doing the coffees we do a lot more volume of. Go ahead and grab that. Thank you. Take a look there. Also going to be roasting for our larger clients, like Cerner, Sport KC, KU Med Center, folks like that. So back to the Java Masters with the individual focus I was talking about. Let's say, for example, you're a Kansas City area customer, you're out of coffee on a weekday and you put an order in on our website on any given weekday morning. If yours is the only order for that particular type of coffee, usually we're going to be bringing that over to the Java Masters, roasting that all by itself over here, and then having that packaged, boxed up, shipped out on your doorstep by 5 that same day. That's our commitment to expediting all those individual orders and making sure everyone gets their coffee as fast as humanly possible, getting the freshest coffee that we can get you. So that's sort of the story here. With the air roasting, I do want to talk about the air roasting method because it kind of sets us apart as well, and it's sort of something we always stress in our branding. Less than 1% of all coffee that's roasted worldwide is done in this air roasting method. Most coffees are going to be barrel roasted, which is just like it sounds. You're going to have a big metal barrel you'll load the green coffee into. That's heated from the bottom, and that barrel spins the whole time. So especially with large barrel roasts, what we can get is some coffee will kind of stay toward the outside the whole time during the roast, while other coffee stays sort of in the middle the whole time. And so some coffee can get under roasted, while other coffee is a little over roasted. Here we're stirring that coffee and distributing that heat as evenly as we can through that roast. So we get a little bit more consistent and even roast. It also gives us a quicker roast time. So if we think about the difference between a conventional oven versus a convection oven, that same difference is applied here with air roasting versus a barrel roast. So all of our roasts are right between about 11 to 13 minutes. 8 to 15 is sort of the extreme window, but most of them are done in 15 minutes or less. So this here in particular, like I said, it's the Ethiopian Natural. It's a light roast. And so most importantly, we're going for a certain target temperature of those beans. We want to get them to 416 degrees, and that will usually happen within around 11 minutes in this particular roast. Do we have any questions so far at this point in the process? So I did want to talk a little bit about roast levels, because I mentioned that this was a light roast. Everything in the coffee industry is kind of divided into 3 roast levels: light, medium, and dark. But the coffee industry doesn't really like anything simple or straightforward, so they went through and renamed all of those roast levels. We have a Vienna for the light roast, French roast is a medium roast, and then the Italian is the dark roast. So it's kind of a hint as to whether that's origin or not. If you pick up a bag of beans and you're reading, none of those 3 places actually grow coffee, so those are going to be origins. So if you see a bag that says French Brazilian, and you think, wait, is this a wax kit or something? No, it's beans from Brazil, medium roasted, that French roast level. So like we said, this is a Vienna roast. We're kind of closing in on our time. So a lot of this is automated, and we have a sensor that's taking the temperature of the beans themselves down here. Once that gets to 416 degrees, right now we're about 385, so we're closing in on it. Once it gets there, the heater will click and turn off, and we're going to be blowing non-heated air in to kind of cool the beans down a little bit. They'll cool for about 50 to 60 degrees, and then they'll drop into this little cooling chamber down here. I can kind of show you what this one looks like. So all of our beans will fall right into here. It's nice and ventilated, and we've got 2 fans that are going to blow up from the bottom. We want to get those beans back down to room temperature as quickly as we can. Otherwise, they're going to continue to roast past the level that we want them to roast at. You also might notice these little sample cups up here. We're going to be taking a little sample of each roast. This is the roast that I did just about an hour and a half ago. We're going to take a little sample of each roast, and our quality control department tests and tastes every single roast that comes to a facility, just to make sure that we're up to our quality control standards that we've set for ourselves, things of that nature. Were there any questions at all about the roasting? Or